2022 has turned the courtroom into a reality TV show. I'm Josh Sanford. I'm America's attorney, and today I'm going to be reviewing and comparing the craziest trials of 2022 and naming a king or queen of courtroom crazy. If you're new here and you like this video, let me know by lawyering up and subscribing today before you leave the channel. When I was in high school, they would pick royalty for every dance or whatever we were having, homecoming, and you always kind of knew who would be there, right? But you never knew who was gonna win. Well, you kind of know who's the craziest of 2022 in terms of courtroom trials, but you might be surprised who wins. There were some crazy trials in 2022, and a lot of us really enjoyed watching some of the highs and lows of the complete insanity. You remember them. But who actually was the craziest? Our pick for crazy royalty shouldn't surprise you at all, but you'll have to watch all of my legal analysis to understand why I thought the king or queen of crazy was the winner or loser of 2022. At number 3 on the list is the Alex Jones trial, which was bonkers. Now, I have to warn you, I don't know all the facts about this case. I just know enough to know that it was crazy. Now, I'm a practicing attorney. I can't sit around and watch a trial for 3, 4, 5 weeks at a time. But what I saw was bonkers, and I'm very comfortable putting Alex Jones at number 3 on the list for 2022. Now, let's get back to the beginning and remember how this all started. So you all remember in 2012, there was a terrible school shooting in Newtown, Connecticut, Sandy Hook, right? Well, Alex Jones went on his show InfoWars and said that the shooting didn't take place, that the shooting was a hoax, that the grieving parents, that everyone who was upset about it were all actors. That's horrifying. It's obviously not true, and it didn't end there, because in response to his misinformation, followers of the show actually harassed the parents, actually harassed the surviving victims of the school shooting. And not one day, but for months and years. And so these defamation lawsuits have been coming down the pipeline for a long time. And 2022 was the year that Alex Jones had to face the music. In particular, there were 4 lawsuits which made claims of defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress, invasion of privacy by false light, and negligent infliction of emotional distress. You don't have to be some kind of legal genius to know that Alex Jones is going to lose these cases by the time the trials are over. These lawsuits grabbed our attention for a couple of reasons. Number 1, Alex Jones is a very controversial person. He's loud, he's over the top, and he says things that most people who would hear them would know that they weren't true, and yet some people just dive right into him. In order to have a big payday, what the plaintiffs had to prove in these lawsuits is not only that Alex Jones lied, that he knew it wasn't true, and that he was intentionally hurting these people, but that also he was making a lot of money off of the increased attention that he was getting from this campaign of disinformation about Sandy Hook. Well, the lawsuits proved that he actually did succeed in making a lot of money from his misinformation about Sandy Hook. The end result of these lawsuits has been a cumulative series of judgments against Alex Jones totaling almost $1.4 billion with a B dollars. I mean, oh, poor baby Alex. Feel so bad for him. There's a lot that made the Alex Jones trial crazy. First of all, he's crazy. Secondly, it's bizarre to me that someone would go after the victims of a school shooting and try to monetize their loss and their pain. Like, it's so bonkers. It's actually bonkers. But that's not the reason that Alex Jones's trial made it on the list. Well, I'll just say this. It's never happened to me before in court, and I've spent years in courtrooms, a lot longer than I would like to have spent. So let me give you the setup before I play this clip. Alex Jones's lawyers were supposed to give some information, some data, some records to the lawyers for the plaintiffs in the lawsuit. That's called discovery. It happens in every case.
Mr. Jones, did you know that 12 days ago, your attorneys messed up? They sent me an entire digital copy of your entire cell phone with every text message you've sent for the past 2 years. And when informed, did not take any steps to identify it as privileged or protect it in any way. And as of 2 days ago, it fell free and clear into my possession. And that is how I know you lied to me when you said you didn't have text messages about Sandy Hook. Did you know that?
I told you the truth. This is your Perry Mason moment. I gave them my phone, and then...
Mr. Jones, you need to answer the question.
No,
Did you know this happened?
No, I didn't know this happened.
I cannot believe that in an actual trial, someone on the witness stand said to the lawyer examining him, right now, you're busting me so bad that you're having your Perry Mason moment. I've examined so many witnesses over the years. I have never had a witness give up like that. I've never had someone that I was examining say,
Oh, well, you're having your Perry Mason moment. I mean, I guess this is the time when you just dance on top of me and kill me.
but that's what happened. And that makes this one of the craziest trials of 2022. Absolutely unbelievable. And then when you add to that the stakes, as I said before, over $1 billion, and also just kind of like the colossal insanity of it all. I mean, this guy invented a way for people to sue him, which was by him claiming that something that everyone knows happened, which was horrifying and which no one should have to be relived. He claimed it wasn't real. He got what was coming to him in this case. And therefore, in addition to being kind of crazy, the outcome of this case was kind of awesome. Look, in the course of litigation, lawyers accidentally hand over information that is supposed to be private. It really does happen. They're called inadvertent disclosures, and there are rules for those things. And in this instance, when the plaintiff's lawyers realized they had the information that they weren't entitled to, they emailed Jones's lawyers and said, hey, I think you guys gave us some stuff that you weren't supposed to give us. Now, under the rules in Texas, where this case was pending, the lawyers for Jones had an obligation to say,
Oh, you were right. We want that stuff back. Inadvertent disclosure. Please give us XYZ documents.
or maybe they can say all of it, whatever, but they just have to say, yes, we shouldn't have given it to you. It's ours. You can't use it. And there's a 10-day grace period. There's a waiting period. And that's why the plaintiff's lawyer said 12 days ago, I got this information, and then 2 days ago, it became mine free and clear. That's because he warned them, and they had the 10-day grace period, and they didn't use it. This is so bad. And the lawyers for Jones were so out of step with what they needed to do that they didn't file a motion to claw back this information until after the Perry Mason moment. Well, it's too late. Perry Mason already busted the case. He didn't kill anybody. He's innocent. Now, the second trial on our list was one that happened last April and May. I'm talking about the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard trial. I'm sure many of you watched it. I actually did not. I was busy that lifetime, but here's the background, okay? Johnny Depp and Amber Heard are both famous, beautiful people, and they were married for a while back in the day. They separated, and in 2018, Amber Heard published an op-ed in the Washington Post in which she did not name Johnny Depp, but she talked about how she was a victim of domestic violence. That didn't go over well with Johnny Depp, and he sued her for defamation. Now, that wasn't the only litigation because she also countersued him. And in a kind of a crazy turn of events, they both won their cases. Johnny Depp won about $15 million of damages versus Amber Heard, but some of that was reduced down to $10.3 million. And she actually won $2 or $3 million from him. So in the end, she owes him about $7 million. Now, I say in the end, but it's not over because there are appeals. You don't have to be crazy to appeal, but it helps. And here's why. When a case goes to trial and a jury awards a certain amount, the Court of Appeals does not want to disturb that verdict. I would say north of 80% of the time, an appeal on a case like this is just going to be denied. The courts want to let the juries do the work that juries do. And in the case of Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard, the work that the jury had to do was to wade through some crazy stuff, including, I can't make this up, human waste being smeared on a bed. And it wasn't done by the person that you think did it. I can't believe this is in one of my videos. It's so sad. What have I become? This trial was crazy, but it was also riveting. Had a lot of unusual legal issues, but mostly a lot of crazy factual issues. And I'm gonna watch some clips from that trial that I've never seen before and react to them here.
Fecal matter on the bed, and and she just tried to blame it on the dogs.
You didn't know what could cause damage to Mr. Depp's hand while you were there on March 8th, correct?
Dr. Kipper told me he sustained an injury on one of his
Well,
fingers.
objection, hearsay.
Wait, you asked the question.
Oh,
Next question.
okay, he said he sustained an injury to his finger.
Yeah.
How much time that you did move in with him?
Objection leading. Your Honor, I'm going to object on hearsay.
He's my co-star.
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay. Objection, hearsay. Her communications are hearsay.
I tried to say that it was fine.
Objection,
that it was-
hearsay.
I found out that he was in a hotel room with Paul Bettany.
Objection, hearsay.
Did you have with Lily Rose without saying anything she said?
Objection, hearsay. Objection leading.
If we approach and then your kid's in the car on the street, you need to
Objection,
move it.
hearsay. That calls for hearsay, Your Honor.
When he finished filming, the plan was to do
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay. Objection, form, compound.
And then you went in the house and saw Mr. Depp in the foyer, correct?
Yes, correct.
And Mr. Depp was trying to urinate in the foyer, wasn't he?
No.
Mr. Depp had his penis out of his
Objection.
pants, didn't he?
I think I would remember.
Relevance.
seeing Mr. Depp.
I'll allow. Next question.
And you were trying to get Mr. Depp out of the house, correct?
Correct, I was trying to get Mr. Depp out of the house, yes.
And Mr. Depp was refusing to leave the house, was he not?
Not so much refused, he just wanted 2 minutes to say his piece.
You took Mr.
And did you have any discussions with Miss Heard on the way to Coachella that evening?
We had a conversation pertaining to the surprise she left in the boss's bed prior to leaving the apartment.
And when you refer to the surprise in the boss's bed, what are you referring to?
The defecation.
What did Miss Heard say about the defecation in Mr. Depp's bed?
A horrible practical joke gone wrong.
Here's a photograph of the bed, our bed. And on my side of the bed was human fecal matter. So I understood why it wasn't a good time to go down there. My initial response to that was, I laughed.
Insider from 2015 that says Johnny Depp has his 5th box office bomb in a row.
If that's what it said, it said. Are you just going to keep reading this?
This is Mr. Depp's reputation. That's what you're talking about in terms of Hollywood, correct? And in 2016, December of 2016, there's an article that says, quote, Johnny Depp is Hollywood's most overpaid actor for the 2nd year in a row. Did you recall reading that?
I don't know, was that written by the second underpaid actor? Or
And you would agree that before the op-ed, there was negative publicity for Mr. Depp about assassinating President Trump. Would you agree?
No, I missed that one.
You didn't see an article in the New York Times that said Johnny Depp flirts with idea of Trump assassination, then apologizes?
Again, Johnny Depp talks with irony and panache, and I don't particularly remember that. I have a lot of stuff in front of me.
And you may have been drunk in that video, correct?
There's a possibility of that, yes, sir.
You poured yourself a mega pint of red wine, correct?
A mega pint.
Yeah.
I poured myself a large glass of wine.
Right.
I thought it necessary.
Right.
You went each of these hundreds of times?
Yes. I'm not gonna say no because she was really always nice.
All right, this is my last.
Be nice.
All right, this is my last question. You testified in response to Mr. Presidio's questions that you testified truthfully in all of these occasions. Did you testify truthfully to everything that you testified in response to my questions today?
That's correct.
All right.
I did.
Rocky's boyfriend, who was some sort of chef, he asked her what she would like for him to cook. That's hearsay, I guess.
Go ahead. I'm not sure if Sanford for the truth of the matter asserted.
He got it.
Okay, all right, well then.
I'm learning.
There you go.
Let me put it a different way. Mr. Drew, who was a chef, which I don't believe is hearsay, Mr. Drew had made Mexican food Ms. Heard's favorite. Is that better?
Well, those are kind of some nutty highlights, right? But there's no one moment from the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial where you're just like, I can't believe it. Not like the Alex Jones trial where this Perry Mason moment is like something that those of us who saw it may never forget it because it's so absurd. Now, there's some gross stuff, right, with the poop in the bed and the years of antagonism. But the reason that this case, for me, ends at number 2 on the list for the craziest trials of 2022 is the way that we, as a society, were so riveted by it. Like, just even watching the highlights, you're like, this is kind of boring. But at the time, it had captured the imagination of so many of us. Now, there were humorous moments. The witness driving while under oath, lawyers objecting over and over with the same objections, and Johnny Depp kind of being funny and saying, isn't that hearsay? But honestly, those things happen in lots of trials all the time, all over America. They're really not that crazy. But for me, this trial makes it on the list because we were all so obsessed with it. And what was it really at its core? It was kind of a relitigation of their divorce with the airing of petty grievances, the rehashing of hurt feelings, and of people just being out of love with each other and snippy and unforgiving. I thought it was boring, honestly. That's one of the reasons I couldn't watch it. But as a country, we were like, woo! We were really, really tuned in. Now, it has the makings of a crazy trial, which is like rich people, famous people, high stakes, they've sued each other for millions of dollars. In the end, I can't put it any higher than number 2. Oh, I just made a number 2 reference in the Johnny Depp trial. I promised myself I wouldn't do it. I promised myself, but it's just laying there. I could not do it. Anyways, the reason I couldn't put any higher on the list than the Deuce is that the people themselves behaved pretty sanely in the courtroom, which is not necessarily what you saw from the Alex Jones trial with him just melting down and saying, you got me, Perry Mason. And definitely not in the case of what is number 1 on our list as the craziest trial of 2022, which involved a lot of in the courtroom total craziness. Now, the number 1 trial on my list of the 3 craziest trials of 2022 can be no surprise, especially not to fans of this channel, because what Darrell Brooks did in the courtroom in Waukesha, Wisconsin in October and November of 2022 will not soon be forgotten by people who are entertained by completely insane pro se criminal defendants in televised courtroom trials, because that's what we had. Darrell Brooks was 40 years old when November 21st of 2021, he drove his red SUV through the Waukesha Christmas parade in Waukesha, Wisconsin, killing 6 people and injuring many others. This trial was never going to be about was Darrell Brooks behind the wheel of that vehicle. There was so much eyewitness testimony that it was never in doubt. There was video footage. Honestly, his interviews with the police, there wasn't a defense to mount. And that's a pretty good deal because there wasn't a defense attorney either. Wait, unless you're counting Darrell Brooks, who succeeded in firing his court-appointed attorney and representing himself. I wish I had more fingers because he did more to make sure that he was sentenced to over 700 years of prison for his 77 criminal charges than the prosecutor did. I mean, he did everything he could to make sure that he got locked up. Wow. Darrell Brooks got found guilty of 6 counts of murder and 61 counts of recklessly endangering people with a dangerous weapon, his vehicle, 6 counts of a fatal hit and run, 2 counts of felony bail jumping, and 1 misdemeanor count of domestic violence. I mean, that guy had the book thrown at him and kadoosh, it hit him in the face. And I, for one, couldn't be happier because people like this need to go to jail for a really, 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 really long time. And Brooks made it so easy to enjoy watching him go down. And that's why, in the end, this trial was the craziest trial of 2022. If you don't believe me or you're not familiar with the case, check out these clips. This is nuts.
Criminal trespass to dwelling from 2006.
Right, I need to take a break. This man right now is having a stare down with me. It's very disrespectful. He pounded his fist. Frankly, it makes me scared. Mr. Brooks, ask your next question.
I'm gonna get to it. Who is you?
Daryl Brooks, the defendant, seated at the table.
Let the record reflect that I do not identify by that name, nor do I know anybody by that name.
So this was a real lowlight in this trial. Early on, Daryl Brooks claimed that he wasn't Daryl Brooks. Not that he was someone else, but that he didn't identify himself as the Daryl Brooks that they were prosecuting. In fact, he didn't even consent to be prosecuted. There's so much wrong with all this nonsense. Like Daryl Brooks, I'm gonna get to it.
Is the injured party present in court right now?
He killed most of the injured party. That's why they're not there.
Can anyone make a claim against me? Can you make a claim against me, Your Honor? And because of that, Your Honor, the motion to dismiss should be granted based on that alone. There's no injured party in this matter. What? So who makes the claim?
So I hate to interrupt Daryl Brooks. I lied. I love to interrupt him. One of his theories, and this is like, just think back to the Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial, which, you know, we loved it. We watched it. It was great. It didn't get renewed for a second season, but it was good. They weren't in court saying things like, because the people I killed are not here to make a claim against me, then no one can make a claim against me. That's total nonsense. But what makes the Brooks trial so riveting in many ways is that he seems totally unaware of just how disconnected he is from the fabric of reality that all of us are connected to. It's really, really bizarre.
Who?
And that your test result was hand-delivered to you, folded. Did you receive that?
I was made aware of my I didn't look at it yet, so.
Do you have it with you?
It is. It's in my paperwork somewhere.
All right, I need you to locate it and open it up, please.
May I ask the reason why that would be?
Mr. Brooks, you raised this issue yourself, and I'd like to know the result.
I would too, but I was kind of in the middle of preparing for my defense, so
Mr. Brooks, find the piece of paper and open it up and read it, please.
Your Honor, I don't consent to being talked to in that fashion.
Oh my word! I don't consent to being talked to in that fashion. Look, what a lot of people don't know is that when you're in a courtroom, the judge might seem like just another person, might seem like a nice person, might seem like a mean person, or a grumpy person, or a person who knows what's going on, or a person who doesn't know what's going on. But as I've said before, the judge is not only a person, but the judge is the living embodiment of the entire 1/3 of the state government, the judicial branch of the government. And when the government tells you what to do, you got to do it. And this idea that he's like, could consent or not consent to being talked to in a certain way by the judge, this really is a snapshot, if you will, of why this trial is so crazy. I would have loved for Alex Jones to have turned to the judge and said,
I don't consent to being talked to like her InfoWars vitamins.
But it didn't happen, right? Or Johnny Depp to say,
Oh, Your Honor, I do not consent to being spoken to in that manner.
Or whatever. Like, those things would have made those trials crazy. They were crazy on their own. But this idea that you just tell the judge how you want to be talked to and how you don't want to be talked to.
Your lack of consent is noted for the record.
So today's your first time seeing any of this footage?
Yes.
Mr. Green, have you ever been convicted of a crime?
Yes.
Do you remember what you did when the vehicle passed you?
Yes.
You state for the record what you did immediately following the vehicle passing you?
I ran to see if my kids were okay.
I wanted to show you that clip of Mr. Green because he was there at the time of the accident. And Daryl Brooks is examining him and he has no reason to ask him questions. I mean, none. It does not help his case in any way. But he's just like, does not get it. It's just such bad lawyering. It's kind of fun to watch.
I don't have a problem with doing what you asked me to do, not tell me. Just like when I asked you about subject matter jurisdiction that you have yet to prove on the record. But somehow I'm being intentionally disruptive. Come on, man, stop. Just stop it.
Do you have any requests
First of all,
related to the jury instructions, sir?
Yeah, I got requests. It ain't like they gonna be honored though.
As it relates to the jury instructions, sir, what are your...
I heard what the hell you said, man.
Well, Mr. Brooks, that was very disrespectful.
Yeah, and I've been getting disrespected since the beginning of this whole process. So welcome to the club.
I don't think I can take much more of this. Look, we all saw what we saw. The Daryl Brooks trial, it takes the cake. It's so much crazier than Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, and so much crazier than the Alex Jones trial. I think that's about enough of that. We could go on forever and ever with the craziness of Daryl Brooks, because the whole trial was like that. But I think we've seen enough to establish he's #1 in 2022. When I started this video, I told you I was gonna rank the craziest trials of 2022, and I did it. We got Alex Jones in 3rd place because just sitting there and saying, well, you had your Perry Mason moment, and that Perry Mason moment costs him like about $1 billion is unbelievable. Secondly, you got Johnny Depp and Amber Heard basically having a protracted divorce trial worth millions of dollars that really kind of focused at times on human waste. And then of course, #1, Daryl Brooks. So much craziness in 2022. I wonder what 2023 will be like and if we'll have just as much craziness. Somebody should make a video about that. Maybe a lawyer on YouTube. Well, you made it to the end. Drop your pro se opinion in the comment section below. Was I right? Did I rank these correctly? Did I leave a trial out that I should have focused on? Was Daryl Brooks, in fact, the craziest trial of 2022? Let me know in the comments. If you want the latest news on the King of Crazy, check out this video right here. I'll be back very soon with another video. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Bye.